Good morning, everyone. Again, we have had so many technical issues that I decided to re record because the other broadcast did not have audio. And now my hair is acting crazy again. But I'm waiting on Elesha to log back in. And we're just going to try this platform instead of the other platform to see if the audio works better, because everything's just having problems this morning. I even got a notice from Facebook that there was a problem. I'm Dr. Cheryl Carr, your work doctor, and this is the Achieve with Dr. C broadcast part 2. I am speaking with my guest, Elesha Story. And as soon as she gets logged on, we'll have our conversation that we had about an hour ago that was recorded, but there's no audio. Just weird as can be. Didn't click anything any different than I did now, but for some reason, just didn't give me an audio. So as soon as I get Elesha on, which we're trying right now, should be any minute. And then we'll go back to talking about her company, her mission, her ministry, and what she's doing on the Achieve with Dr. C broadcast. It's more motivation for you guys, more helpful information for helping with pandemic recovery, but also for those of us that found ourselves having to swivel, not just pivot, but swivel in this pandemic because of job loss, spouse's job loss, having to work differently, which the whole world is online now, and having to do things just different than we've ever had to do them in this country and in our work life. So I think what Elesha is doing, her company, which I'll let her tell you all about it, it's been such an important ministry to me. I think I'll tell you guys a little bit about my friendship with Elesha. She's one of the first people I became friends with when I first moved from Kansas to Texas. And we were both at it was a New Year's Eve, New Year's Day party. And we met, it was like we were at the food buffet. We were eating because we love to eat. That's most of our gatherings, we go out to eat. But she never gains weight. She's a little old thing. But anyway, we had a conversation on that first night, or first day. I think it was a day party. It was a New Year's Day party. And we ate, and we've been friends. We sat down and talked, and we've been friends ever since. Hi, Elesha. I can hear us. I checked the sound. I made sure. I was just yapping and just sharing with everybody about how we met on that New Year's party. And I shared that we're always eating, but you're a little thing, you don't gain weight. I, on the other hand, show every buffet and brunch we've ever had, working on that. But anyhow, I was just sharing with them what we discussed, and the devil's a whole lie. He's a pathological lie. Absolutely. Because there was no sound to our first conversation. Wow. And that's why I'm so grateful to God you had the time to come back. We're going to do it again. Part 2.
We're going to do it better this time. Yeah, reboot. It's the remix.
Yes. It's the replay. It's the repeat. And we're going to do this again. Because all the difficulties we've had, just let me know we're supposed to have this conversation. There is a listener or two that needs what you have to share today. So that's why we're doing it again. We're not going to wait till next week. We're not going to. So let's just jump right into it.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Achieve with Dr. C broadcast. Tell us, Elesha, about yourself and about your company, your mission, your ministry, Dashing.
So I'm Elesha Story, and I am the CEO and Chief Visionary Officer of Dashing Apparel and DashingNation.org. And so a little bit about me, I'm from the Midwest. I'm from Indianapolis, Indiana. Hi, Indy. So I'm a Hoosier. I've been in Texas a while, so I consider myself a Hoosian. So that's part Hoosier, part Texan. I would never give up my Indiana roots, but I'm planted here in Texas for a reason. I have I have a social work degree. And when I graduated from college, I wanted to save the world, but couldn't save myself on what social workers make. And so I decided to go into HR, and God kind of led me down the path where I could still, help people, but do it in another arena. And I'm a people person, so I love people. So that's how I ended up in HR and social work. Everybody has a story. I love to hear your stories. I love to share whatever parts of them you want me to share to help inspire someone or to introduce you to people. So I'm just a people person, and God, that's my mission, is to touch lives, touch hearts, and help people dash. So a little bit about Dashing. Dashing is an acronym for Dying to Achieve Success and Happiness in God. And it's based on a small dash between the day we're born and the day that we go to heaven or leave this earth. And I was inspired by Dashing because I'm inspired to pursue Dashing because I lost my dad. And even though he was 84, I'm a daddy's girl, and it hit me really, really hard. And so he had a great home going. He had like 500-600 people in attendance, which really struck me about the impact of his dash. And when we went to the cemetery, we buried him among family. So he was around great uncles, great grandparents, and I took some flowers off his casket and put them on those of my family members. So the first one I went to was my grandmother, because my maternal grandmother, she's right next to him. Mm-hmm. And this lady is my shero. Oh my goodness. She was the first Black chief deputy of voters registration for my hometown. And when she retired, they named the day after her. They gave her the key to the city. It was just really an honor, and she has made an impact with her life. She was a leader in the church, as well as my great-grandparents and my great-uncles and aunts. We all went to the same church, St. John Missionary Baptist Church, church with the downtown program. Don't ask me what that means, but evidently we were on it back then. And they were just my real-life Bible prophets. They showed me what, following Jesus was all about. You're young, you don't necessarily appreciate all that when you're younger, but it's instilled in you. And so it comes back. I've seen it in my own son, so I know it does. So put flowers on his grave, on the graves of great uncles, great grandparents, and my great uncle and my great grandfather were also entrepreneurs. So just looking at the impact of that dash kind of hit me. And so on driving back to Dallas, because we had to go pretty suddenly, so we drove, God dropped Dashing into my spirit, and I couldn't stop thinking about it. Again, dying to achieve success and happiness in God. So let me break that down. D, when you want to do something so badly, we always say we're dying to do it. So you're dying to see this new movie, you're dying to check out this new restaurant. So why aren't we dying to find out what God's will is for our life? In the word, it says you have to die to yourself and the flesh to be like Christ. Because when Jesus died, as believers, we died with him and we rose with him. So we are seated, we are seated right now next to him in heavenly places. And then the ASH, one more thing. The D for dying is also for we're all going to die one day. And so a lot of people don't want to think about that, but that's something that's going to happen for sure. So what do you want to do with your life while you're here? The ASH, achieve success and happiness. That abundant life that looks different for everyone can only be achieved when you're in God, G. And I mean in God, and God is in you, thus dashing. Right. I thought about dashing all the way home, and I initially thought about doing dashing as apparel. So that's why you see behind me, dashing apparel. And I thought about people being able to express their faith outwardly through their clothing. And that's how I launched the business. And I have to tell you, it was a failure, and miserably at that. And it kind of set me back because I'm used to things coming to me easily and not failing. So it was really hit me hard until God explained to me why it failed. So, you know, when I first started dashing, I was all about seeing my dad again because I'm a daddy's girl. And so I wanted to see him when I leave this earth.
Mhm.
God said, no one comes before me. It should be about me. And so, daughter, when you make it about me, because it says in God, then you will flourish. And so that's what I did. I realized the fault in my logic. And yes, I want to see my dad, my grandmother, and all my loved ones again. But I also want to see God and Jesus, and I want to see them first. But I just don't want that for me. I want that for everyone. And so that's why I started dashing. My purpose here on life is to, of course, spread the gospel of Jesus Christ, but also bring souls to him. I want everyone to realize that, you know, this life is finite. And that's why that dash is so small. But it has such a huge impact and can if you're in God. He will lead you to your purpose to make the difference, to leave a legacy that I hope that everyone wants to leave. So dashing again is all about, it was all about clothing initially. And then after God spoke to me, it became about the whole person. So it's books, music, apparel, and conferences. It's about what you read and what you wear and what you listen to. It's about conferences that I want to hold where you have thought leaders and motivational speakers and workshops and retreats so that you can have tools and resources to reach your dash. Whether you do a class on finding your purpose, whether you find that and you need tools and resources, whether you just want to move to the next level of your life from a financial standpoint, financial literacy, whatever that is, that's what I want to help people do. I want to inspire you through people who have already, you know, found their dash and moving in that direction, and just motivate everyone to find that dash, because we're here for a reason.
We are.
We are for a reason, yes. So that's my purpose. I found it through a tragedy, but that's sometimes how God works. He turns tragedy into victory. So I wrote a devotional, and I say in that devotional, God made it so my father said leave so I could dash. And so his passing inspired me to do that.
I like that. And I have learned there's purpose in pain.
Mm-hmm.
There's a purpose in everything, and God doesn't waste 1 minute of our pain, not 1 second of our losses, and nothing we've given up can compare to what we have to look forward to.
Absolutely.
So I absolutely love what you said about that dash and it being so short, because I think right now it's more conscientious for us, or top of mind for us, that we can leave here and death is 100%.
Yep.
Everybody has to meet that time period where this life is done and now you've got the next life. And it's what you've done in this part of your life that determines that next part. So you mentioned that being in God, and a lot of people can hear that, and conceptually they've heard that, but tell us a little bit about what that means to you and for the purpose of your ministry and your company. What does it mean to be in God?
Well, it means to be that God is in you and you're moving in his will. It's not just on your own strength, because I've learned the hard way, and I'm sure you have and others. When you're doing it in your own strength, it's you make it a lot harder than it has to be. Yes. So God has us here for a reason, and I like the in God, because that's just what it is. He's in you and you're in him, and so he moves through you. And so dashing is all about movement. I mean, when you add that ing, if you look at the definition of dash in the dictionary, it's like, we all know the definition. It's adding a pinch of something, it's moving fast, or striking something. But when you add ing, that definition changes so much. So you can look in the dictionary and see it. It says when you add ing to dash and make it dashing, then you're bold, full of the spirit, and stylish. So when you look like Christ, you're looking dashing, you're looking stylish.
Mhm.
When you put the ing in God, you're bold, and you take chances, and you trust in God, and you go out there and do what God has called you to do. You pursue your purpose, and you're full of spirit. So you're full of the Holy Spirit, and the Holy Spirit is in you to help guide you on this path, because Jesus sent the Holy Spirit when he left to take his to help you and take his place on earth, so we can hear the Spirit and move us along in our dash. And so that's what dashing is all about. And so
I love that. I
yeah.
love that. And let's put a pin in something that you said about movement.
Mhm.
And a lot of people only take movement for the physicality or actual movement. And there's a principle, so it's a physics law, that an object in motion stays in motion. But a lot of us forget in God, sometimes you're doing your best moving when you're still and you're silent and you're listening, because when we rest, God works.
Yes.
When we work, God rests. That's how it works. So I want to know, when you tell people about dashing, about making sure you're moving and you're seeking God's will above your own. Tell us some more about how that happened for you in your life.
Wow. So I told you I worked in HR, and I've been very successful, but there came a point in my life, especially after my father passed. When he passed that year, I got laid off. And I kept trying to go back to work and kept getting laid off and laid off. And I'm like, wow, so God, what are you trying to tell me? And he kept on bringing dashing back into my spirit. So I think I shared that it failed initially. And so I'm not used to failure. So I went back to work. I'm like, I guess it's not for me. But God, like Moses, he pursues you. He's like, look, this is for you. And I'm going to keep on taking you out of this corporate environment until you realize that. So I started to realize that. And so I stepped out on faith. And when I tell you I did, things started changing to the point where I was getting resources, enrolled in a business program that matched your funds, consultants, advisors, fellow entrepreneurs. It just all came into play. And I lost some things along the way, but there's lessons in losses. And so I've learned that. And again, I'm used to things coming easily and not failing. And I don't consider it failing. I consider it failing forward. Because I talk about in a book that I'm working on right now, bought lessons. So bought lessons are either you pay now or you pay later. And most of the time they're very painful. And so, but if you heed those lessons and learn the lessons in the losses, it will prepare you forward. Like a bow and arrow, you pull it back, but the further you pull it back, the further it goes. And so I've lost jobs. I ended up having to sell my home, got rid of my beautiful BMW, all those things, so I could move forward in my dash. And there was a point I look back at those and I'm like, man, I was balling back then. But now I'm balling in the spirit, and I know all the things that I lost, God will give back to me, because you seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all those things will be added onto you. So I had to learn that, because growing up and being a single parent for a while, I always had to have a plan A, B, C, and D. There was nothing that was going to be a surprise to me. I was going to be prepared. And now my son told me the other day, you are doing totally different what you taught me and what I saw you do. But I love what you're doing now, because I'm totally relying on God. So he took all those things from me, so I can pursue him and rely on him. And when I tell you, I wait in expectancy on what God's going to do next, because he keeps showing out and showing up in every way, to the point. I don't have the same home, but I have a beautiful home. I don't have the same car, but I have a nice car. I have everything I need and most of what I want, but what I really want is to be in his will. And I got that. And that's awesome.
Sometimes I think we really miss the purpose of hardships, because it reshapes your will, to where I remember when I went through some of my rough times, which again, you've been there, you've watched, I've watched, we've shared, we've been true friends through some difficult moments. And I always say not very many people have the stomach to be with you during your downturn. Most people want to be with you during your high life.
Yeah.
You know? But when you get to those hardships and you get to where you stop wanting what you want and you learn to ask God. I got to the point where all I ever asked God for was his best. I don't care what car it was, what house it was, what job it was. I stopped asking God to bless what I wanted. And I started doing what you just said, which is being in his will. What do you want me to do?
Exactly. And you got to be careful with that because you got to be ready. It might not always be what you want it to be. And
Is it ever?
You want that. It's never the way you want it to be. It's never the way you think it's going to be. But it's the best thing for you. So just, hold on to the railing while you take this ride and enjoy it and ride along. Because
isn't it exciting?
It's super exciting. I mean, it just blows my mind of where I am today and where I was a few years back. Totally different dash. And so it's awesome to me. And when I first launched my devotional, I took people to the cemetery, and I learned in business class, you start with the end in mind. So the end is this cemetery. Everybody's going to be here. You said death is inevitable. But that little small dash, what are you going to do with it? And is this the end for you or just the beginning? On the other side of this life is something else. Whether you believe it's nothing or you believe it's heaven or believe it's God, take the chance and try Jesus. And that's just what it said. I said, take the chance. What you got to lose? Try him. See if he won't open the windows of heaven for you. Being a parent, I know what that looks like because I told my son things that he didn't listen to. But I lived that life. I see way ahead. God sees stuff we don't see.
Right.
So trust him. I used to tell him all the time, trust me, because I say so, because I know better. So does he. And so I take that into account that I'm his child and I need to be following his will and seeking him because he sees what I don't see. He has the cattle on 1,000 hills. He has everything I need, everything I want, and he wants the best for me because he loves me. He's shown me that by sending Jesus. And Jesus showed me that by not getting off that cross. And so I'm saying, just try Jesus. And oh, by the way, there's a church across the street. And so these are people who will walk with you, who will fight with you, pray with you. And yeah, they're just as messed up as you are. But we're holding each other accountable. And if you don't want to go to church and you consider yourself spiritual or you like online church better, just find a group, find your tribe that you can dash together because we can't do this alone. I used to try to do everything on my own. It don't work. And I used to try to be the strongest and not show any weakness. That don't work either. Nope. People want to know you. They want you to be authentic so they can be authentic with you. And so I've learned to bring that guard down, and I've learned to be myself, and I've learned to ask for help, and there's strength in that. It is not a weakness.
It is not a weakness.
Or to be by ourselves.
Oh my goodness. And that's such an important point for people. I heard an African proverb that says, if you want to go fast, go alone. And if you want to go for sure, go with people. And that's part of, I think, the lesson the pandemic is giving all of us is how important the village is, how important that need he created in us for community and other people. We're seeing even how it affects us biologically. Physicality is big right now, how we impact each other.
Yes.
And I believe when God has to humble you, he makes your way hard until you get that lesson that you're created to love. You're created for healthy relationship and you need people. Now, the people that God puts in your life, they need to be able to add to you, not just subtract. Now, I say that because I've learned not to fear being used as long as you know what you're being used for. No problem in being you. My computer does it all the time. I have to shut off everything. Everything's on silent. It always rings during your.
I know. I put my phone on silent, but I didn't put this Mac on silent.
My main point is talking about the mindset people need to have right now, because you said in the first interview that we talked about is the importance of noticing how God shut down everything and completely rearranged everything in the world. Tell us some more about how that reinforced dashing for you, but then how God added to you, even in everything being shut down and shut off and laid off and, you know, all of that. Tell us about that, because somebody needs to hear that.
So again, God shut everything down to show us there's a purpose in that. It may be different for everyone, but for me, it showed me, first of all, I need to stop. I need to stop moving and listen, because in his word, he said, stand still and know that I am God. So again, I got plan A, B, and C. And so I'm trying to do everything, fix it in my own strength. He's just stop. I got this. I want you to stand still, meditate, pray, and listen to what I'm telling you to do. And so that's what I did. This pandemic has also opened doors. There are so many opportunities. There's lessons in the losses, because there's economic turmoil and social unrest and racial unrest and all these things going on, natural disasters. God said this is the perfect time for dashing, because people are looking for positivity, community, purpose, and they should be looking for me, because I'm the one who controls all this. So I need you to hear me. And sometimes it's not like a loud, oh my goodness. I have to text my son and say, dude. No.
It's okay.
It's telling me for a reason.
Yes. Yes. Tell them you're busy ministering.
I am. Oh my goodness, son. Okay, just bear with me.
Is he okay?
I don't know. I think he's fine. He checks on me.
Okay. Good son. That's a good son.
Absolutely. He's a great son. I call him my number one. He's like, I'm your only one.
Yes.
Number one fan. Okay. Gotcha. Okay, kind of lost my place. Perfect time for dashing. So sometimes you have to hear that still small voice, and you got to get quiet to do that. And so he's kind of quieted all of us and isolated us so he can talk to us. So we need to listen to that. And then he's putting you in a position where you're going to have to get out of your comfort zone, because sitting in home by yourself, uncomfortable, and, you know, people are pivoting to other, you know, avenues to do their business, live their life. Even churches had to pivot. We're used to having in person. No, God is doing a new thing.
That's right.
To embrace that new thing. When you are in Christ, you're a new creature. So new is good.
New is good.
New is good. So
new God is good.
Yeah, all the time. And new may not always be easy. Now that's another thing. It's
not easy.
It's not easy.
No.
Definitely learn who my friends are, like you said. Just like Jesus, I've been betrayed. I've been talked about. I've lost friends that I thought people were my friends, and I've lost personal possessions, but I've gained so much more. Because when you do that, God puts other people in your life to take the place, puts other desires in your heart, and he puts pathways to get to where you need to be. So he did that for Dash, and he gave me an opportunity to be in a business class, to have consultants, advisors. He gave me opportunities to get money for my business. I won a grant from Beyonce and NAACP. And when I tell you that was right on time, when I was ready to give up, I'm like, okay, God, I'm not working. I've made some bad choices and decisions and wasted money I shouldn't have used, trusted people I shouldn't have trusted. And now I'm kind of got some PTSD. And I'm like, oh God, I don't want to trust, and I'm not sure I want to do this. Is this really your will for me? And then just out of the blue, he's like, daughter, here's 10 grand. I'm like, wow. He said, I want you to keep dashing. I'm like, now that's a testimony, seriously. And I'm telling you that grant application was not hard to fill out. And when I got the letter from the NAACP, it said, you were one of the finalists out of over 13,000 people. 13,000. That's a lot of folks that they picked me as one of the finalists to get this money. That's God. And that's what I'm saying. When you start moving in his direction, he'll start moving towards you.
Right.
Like you said, God rests when we work and vice versa. So move towards your dash, and you'll be surprised all the victories and milestones and blessings that will come your way. Now, there's going to be obstacles. There's going to be stumbling blocks, but use those to step a little higher. If he's putting those obstacles in your way, that means you need to step on them and keep going up a little higher. And when you get up a little higher, he'll be right there for you.
Obstacles shouldn't stop you. I posted something a couple of days ago that is so important to me.
Mm-hmm.
And it is the fact that we're not all in the same situation. We're all in the same storm. Some of us are in yachts. Some of us are in rowboats. And some of us are hanging out at the shore, not wanting to swim. So the best thing to do is stay in your lane, focus on your own purpose. And I remember you said something, what would you do if it was free? If you could just get up and do that thing every day, nobody had to pay you, it would be what you want to do, something nurturing and positive. Now, we're not giving a license for doing nothing. We're telling you in that thing that you would do is part of your purpose. Yeah. Now, talk to us about how you discovered your purpose, not just about dashing, but actually how you understood once you lost the job, once you gave up the house, the car, the trappings of so-called success, you had to find what was next. That was your purpose. Now, tell us a little bit about that.
So, again, triggered by losing my dad. And I think I found it because, again, it's something that that was always in me. I work in HR, I have a degree in social work, so I love people. Everybody has a story. I want to hear it. I want to help. And so how could I help people in the lane that God has me in? Because I can help people from a secular standpoint, or I can help them from the standpoint of what God wants me to do. And so, and just sitting back and asking, because he says, ask, seek, and knock. And so I asked, because things weren't working out doing it my way. And I'm like, okay, God, I launched this apparel brand. It's not working. What do you want me to do? Because I think dashing is my purpose. And that's when it became a bigger entity, books, music, apparel, and conferences. Because again, God wants to address the whole person. And so you're just thinking about, and I was doing athleisure wear because athleisure wear isn't going anywhere, but that's not what he wanted me to do. And so I just had
pleasure in that, Elesha. When you were doing it, did it bring you joy when you were doing it?
Doing the apparel piece or speaking with God?
Yeah.
It did not. It was hard. And I was fighting against the wind. And I'm like, I'm determined to do this. Right. And that's why it didn't work out. I wasn't listening. Again, I was in my own will, doing it my way. And, it was painful. It was one of those lessons because he's like, this is not going to go the way you want it to. I'm going to put a halt to all this. It's going to be very painful. And it was. Again, I said I had PTSD because I trusted people I shouldn't have instead of trusting God and trusting my own understanding, which I shouldn't have done. And so sometimes he brings pain in your life to kind of bring you where you need to be. Just like parents, they spank their kids. Gotta have a little pain to keep you remembering what.
Remember pain.
Yes. Bought lessons. So, it was a struggle. But, I'm a determined individual, and so God put that in me as well. I had a child when I was young, and I went back to college, but I had to quit to take care of my son. And one day I just decided, I was paying insurance claims. I said, I'm not going to be the world's oldest claims examiner. This is not for me. This is not my purpose. And so I went to my manager and I said, hey, I'm gonna have to quit. I'm going back to school. I went to my family and they're like, well, how are you gonna pay for this? I'm like, I don't know, but I'm gonna make a way. God's gonna make a way. I can't do this anymore. And when I went to my manager, she came back to me and said, hey, why don't you just work part-time? We'll pay you by the claim. And then, you can just keep on working here. That was amazing because I took all the easy claims and did those first. So I made quite a bit of money out the gate. And then I took the hard ones later. And when it came time for me to do my internship in social work, they couldn't meet my schedule, so I had to quit. But I was already working in an HR capacity as a benefits coordinator, and I just slid right into that job. And then God just slid me right into HR, and I just kept on going, and I kept on progressing more and more, getting my certifications, becoming an HR manager, senior HR business partner. And I'm like, okay, I have arrived. No, this is just the beginning. This is just positioning you for what I really want you to do. I'm gonna start taking all this stuff away from you. But what you learned in HR, you're going to use in another capacity. And so that whole journey to get me to realize that dashing was my purpose, I had to lose my father for that. I had to lose my job for that. I had to lose doing things my way for that. And so I took that determination that I have, and now I'm using it in God's will and not my own.
Great. He moved everything else out of the way.
Woo, and everyone.
Purpose and loss. Yeah. People, places, things moved out the way. And then you could see clearly that one thing that was seasonal for your life. He wanted you doing that now. Because like you said, he can see around the corners of life. Now, we're coming to a close. I hate this part of the show because it always goes so fast.
Yeah, like I had more time on the first one.
No, but this is a different platform. The other one wasn't working and wasn't being cooperative. So tell us how we can reach you. Give us specific ways to reach Dashing and Elesha Story.
Well, first, I want to tell you before I forget about my new devotional, Dashing Life Stories.
Yes.
And it's already out on Amazon. You can find it on dashingapparel.com as well as amazon.com. And real quickly, it's just talking about stories in my life of how God had a purpose and a plan, which I already illustrated. He was just waiting for me to add that ing in God to my dash. And one of my first stories is called But I Don't Want to Get My Hair Wet. And it talks about how I had made a decision to get baptized, but then a couple of weeks later, I'm like, I don't know. I just got my hair done. It's kind of cute. And even if I wear a swim cap, it's going to get wet. It just illustrates how sometimes the decision we make to follow God doesn't always go along with our present situation. And we have to decide every day that we live our life in faith, which spells life. So yeah, go get the book. It's awesome. It'll make you laugh. It'll make you reminisce. It'll make you think, and prayerfully, it'll bring you closer to God. Yes. So, dashingapparel.com and Amazon. You can reach me on dashapparel.com, on Facebook, my Facebook group, Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube all have the same title, Dashing Nation. Because my end goal is to build a dashing nation, to grow a dashing nation where people are finding their purpose and living their purpose, and we're helping each other along to do that. I want people to start speaking the dashing vernacular. Where you going? I'm dashing. How you looking? I'm dashing. What you doing? I'm dashing. I'm dashing toward my purpose, staying in my lane. Y'all running right alongside me, and we're going to get to the end of this race. Well, guess what? Where Jesus Christ is waiting for all of us. So that's how you can reach me. I pray that you do. Lastly, I also have my own CD. It's called Dashing. It's a kicking little contemporary gospel song. And you can see the music video on my website, dashingapparel.com, and also on YouTube. And just come along and dash with me, because that's what the song is saying.
Yes. And you guys, you will find so much motivation. One thing that Elesha does, besides being just one of the best listeners I know, is she promotes other people. She's not just about herself. And if you follow her social media, she tells us about people that are dashing. I've learned so much phenomenal, encouraging things that people are doing just by following Dashing Nation and being a part of Dashing Nation. And the beautiful thing too about that is there's enough room for all of us, you guys. No scarcity thinking, no competitive thinking. Look at finding your motivation as helping you in your purpose. It only will encourage you if you remove that scarcity thinking, remove that competitive thinking, and look at what Elesha's doing, what Dashing Nation is doing as a way to feed yourself. It's a good source, good food, good nourishing source, not spooky spiritual, which you guys know, no guest on my show is spooky spiritual, where they're so heavenly minded, they're no earthly good. And their whole person, because God put us in these earth suits, gave us this time here on earth for a reason. And that reason is all in his command. We may think we're doing things in our own strength, but I have found a long time ago the effortlessness of seeking God's will first, and he adds all those things to you with no sorrow. And it is true. Even if in the difficulties, we both have joy. We both have purpose. We know what we're here for. We know what we're supposed to be doing. And we want the same for you.
Absolutely. So yeah, definitely check out Dashing Nation. You can also just look up my name, Elesha Story, ELESHA STOREY. I post about everything that I learn about what other people are doing with their dash, and also resources for you to help you if you already know what you're going to do. So definitely take a look at that, because I want to inspire you, because when you see somebody else doing it, you say, well, if they can do it, I can do that too. And let me see how they did that. Because we've all been told, look at somebody who's doing what you're doing, what you want to do, and then emulate that person. See how they did it. See the struggles and the trials and the pathway and their methodology. And that's what I try to do. I'm trying to help everybody find their dash, and so they can have that abundant life here, living your best life. I ain't going back and forth without Jesus.
No, we're not. We're not moving without Jesus. In him we live, move, and have our being.
Well,
I love the fact that we're iron sharpening iron. We help one another. You're a true friend, an inspiration. I love Dash. I loved it since the moment you told me, even way back then when you said it fell. I didn't know that. I just loved it. I thought it was so. It goes to show you might think it looks one way to you, but to other people, I'm like, God, that's beautiful. It's such an important lesson. Because
you're selling clothing now. Don't get it twisted. Yeah, it's just now it's everything. So who are you wearing? If you're walking down that red carpet of life, who are you wearing? That's what they ask at these award shows. Are you wearing Jesus? Are you wearing God? Mm-hmm. Well, if you're dashing, you definitely are. You're wearing in your clothing, what you read, what you see, what you do. Let's do that dash together.
Let's dash, girl. I do it every day, and I love the song too. That song is so catchy, and it's a great video. You guys can watch it. But we gotta log off of here before they log us off.
Well,
thank you so much for coming on the first time and the second time, because like we said, the devil's a whole lie.
Yes.
We weren't going to let this day go by without the message.
Yeah.
And I look forward to making sure people get that devotional.
Yes.
Make sure you tune in to Dashing Nation, find out how she's moving all those pieces forward that she talked about. You can find out the conferences and everything upcoming. Just join the Dashing Nation. And those achievers, I want you to know you can still be an achiever and be a dasher too. It all fits together.
Oh, yes, please come dash with me. We can help each other out. Yes, I would love that. I love achievers.
Yes, we help one another, and that's what we need. We need each other. So thank you so much for sharing with us today.
Thank you.
Talk to you soon. And thank you for the keys and the important lessons. And achievers, make sure you tune in next week. We'll be continuing and wrapping up self-talk and moving to safe conversations.
Love it.
You'll find out more about that next week when I'll be teaching you some more about the importance of what talking does to the brain and how you can make sure what you listen to, even yourself, is encouraging and edifying. So again, Elesha, much love.
Much love. Much love to all you achievers. Remember, there's power in the tongue. So definitely pay attention and log in next time. Until then, stay safe, stay well, and keep dashing.
Keep dashing. Love you, girl.
Love you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.